Hello and welcome to Religion and Life. I'm your host, Ozzie. Appalachian State University hosts over 250 clubs and student organizations, some which have a spiritual component and some that focus on cultural connections. One club, Destino, boasts not only a religious component but seeks to keep Latino students on campus culturally connected as well. My guest today, Mia Lopez-Calvo, is a leader of Destino and will provide us some insight into the heart of this important student organization. Welcome, Mia.
Thank you for having me.
You're not only a leader, you're the president, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is your second year in the club, Destino.
Correct.
Why don't you start just by introducing yourself? I want to get to know you too, and tell us maybe how you got introduced to Destino in the first place.
Yes, so I'm Mia. I am a senior here at App State. And I got introduced through the Spiritual Life Fair. I really wanted to know like what clubs were, spiritual life could benefit me. And me and my friends joined Destino, and I became really good friends with the president from last year. And she also introduced me into the idea of becoming the president for Destino after she graduated, and I took her up on that offer, and here we are.
That's wonderful. So this you had a Spiritual Life Fair, so I'm assuming that the various campus organizations had tables set up, and you went around and you found one with the connection to Latino students as well. Okay, so I'm going to take a stab here. I would say Destino means destiny.
Yes.
I think we have a logo that we can put up here. It's a really nice logo. So how this is not just an organization that's here on this campus, right? So it's a larger organization. So tell me about the name.
Yes.
What is the name Destino trying to communicate about this club?
Yeah, so essentially the logo, the name itself means destiny. So this organization really wants students to fulfill their destiny, to fulfill their mission here on campus or in whatever part of life they are at, more so with their faith, their destiny and what the Lord wants in their lives and things like that. And it is a sister ministry with Crew. It is the Hispanic ministry that Crew has that not a lot of people know of.
I had never heard of it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was doing a little bit of background on Destino. I think this is right. Maybe you can tell me. There are only 35 campuses nationwide that has a Destino chapter.
Yes.
And we're one of them.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's, a really like a small movement, but it's, reaching out to other campuses, and App State's lucky to have Destino.
I think it began in Texas, perhaps. So how did App State managed to move in this direction? Was it something that Crew initiated, or was it Hispanic students on campus who were looking for something, or both maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially both. From what I've heard, the founders of Destino, Carol, she was in Crew. She was one of like the on-staff members, and she just got with other Hispanic students and realized that Crew is on other campuses and started Destino with, just mostly girls, a Bible study with just young women, and it just grew from that. And every year a leader steps in and like takes over and really tries to push it outwards.
Nationwide then? The leader, is it still just for women, or is it
no,
co-ed now?
It's co-ed,
all right.
Yeah.
How many members do you have?
We have like 10, 15 members.
10 or 15? Yeah, so small organization. Yes. But so do you, what is a typical meeting like when you get together? Do you break up into small groups, or do you, just tell me how that works, what you do in your typical meeting?
Yeah, so essentially a meeting looks like I have a study that I go over with the members. We read a couple verses of the Bible, and then we read a passage and we reflect on it. I ask questions to see if the members are really understanding what they're reading, and I'm not just throwing off stuff to them. And then we either relate to what is being read, or we have even more questions, and we just discuss through that. And then in the end, we do prayer requests, And that's usually what like a general body meeting kind of looks like. Sometimes we have game nights, and sometimes we have outside of the student union meetings, which can look like movie nights at my apartment. One semester we did s'mores and things like that.
So the fellowship component is pretty important.
Yes, it's really big.
So when you're leading a Bible study, do you have materials that Destino provides for you that's kind of specific for that group?
Yes, for sure. So I have like a mentor from Crew. She currently resides in Florida, so it's a lot of like virtual. And she provides with me like the materials and like the series to do. So it starts off with, I think one time I did how to pray, like, you know, how to read your Bible, like how to share your faith. So it like starts off small and then builds up. Another one that we did this month, was, you know, like how does God loves us, and, you know, since it's Valentine's Day type of theme.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something you said in the beginning, which also relates to the name of this organization. You suggested that one of the focus points of Destino is to help students. It's a student organization only, right? Yes. To help students or young adults in your position to kind of figure out where you're headed in life. Yeah. How does the Bible? How do you feel that the Bible study helps you to focus in on the next stage in your life or where you're headed?
So I believe that the Bible really just lays out the groundwork to how you can choose to navigate your life, whether you choose to lean on God or you choose to lean on your own ideas and your own opinions. So I think when we have these Bible studies, it really makes us reflect, like, okay, how are we doing in life? Like, how are we treating other people? How are we, you know, managing with stress? How are we managing with balancing our schoolwork? You know, we're college kids. Like, what can we do to find fellowship? And like, what does the Bible teach us to really rely on the Lord for making hard decisions? Or it can be the most mundane thing. Like, what does the Bible really reflect? And like, what can we do that the Bible tells us to do to follow the Lord first and foremost, and everything that comes after?
Yeah. So this organization, and I know more about Crew than I know about Destino. Back when I was a student, it was called Campus Crusade for Christ. Yeah. So some of our viewers might remember it that way, and that provides a little context. But when I was a student, I know that then Campus Crusade for Christ had a reputation for being very Bible-centered, and that sounds like what you're describing about Destino too. So, and I was looking at your faith and mission statement, and that's prominent there too. Can you talk a little bit about that, the role that the Bible plays, either in the group or in your own personal?
For sure. Destino like really does pride themselves in like being interdenominational. So like any type of denomination that you are a part of. So we have, you know, a lot of people who are Catholic faith, Christian faith, non-denominational, or just seeking. And for me, it's, you know, being able to share what I've learned, like growing up Christian, and being able to experience like different perspectives, different opinions, and all of us just really pointing to what God really says in His Word and like what the truth is. And I think that's also really neat to see, because I think nowadays everybody just wants to be right and everybody just has a lot of different opinions. So I think it's a good space to just really fall back on like what is truth. You know, what does God say to love your neighbor? What does God say to really have, you know, ethical, the loss for words, you know, like being ethical, and things like that. So for me, the Bible is like really a big thing in my life. Like, I love going to church. I also started off with different campus ministries before I found Destino too. And yeah, I mean, it's a big challenge for me to like be a leader and step in that space. But I find comfort, and like my friends are there, and like they have told me that they have grown spiritually, and like this is a place where they can, you know, from whatever they were taught, whatever they grew up in, like they can find comfort in that. And like sometimes I provide Bibles for them. Sometimes they tell me like I bought this new Bible to study, and that's really encouraging.
Yeah. So your group, I want to come back to the Latino connection as we talk, but the other thing that sort of distinguishes Destino, and I would say this about Crew as well, is that this is not a group for Catholic students, not a group for Baptist students, it's not a group for Presbyterian students. Those groups are out there, but this is more of a non-denominational or interdenominational group, so you don't have to belong to one denomination or another. Do you have diversity within the group?
So I'm Pentecostal, but I do go to a Baptist church up here. A lot of the members are from Catholic faith backgrounds. Some still do identify as Catholics. Some are Baptists. Some, are non-denominational. So I think it's a good mix to have. Sometimes, the opposing beliefs and all of that is also a big thing. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm just going to point you to the Bible. You know what I mean?
So you have Catholic, Baptist, non-denominational, Pentecostal, to name a few, among your group of 15. So that's got to lead to some pretty lively discussion. Because you're going to have different backgrounds and different views about religion.
Of course, yes.
So when you went to that spirituality fair, the religion fair, whatever it was, and you found Destino, what was more important to you? The fact that this was a kind of spiritually focused group and you kind of connected to the philosophy or theology behind it, or was it the Latino cultural connection, or did it just kind of come together?
I think it came a little together. I mean, for sure, like the Latino aspect, because, the clubs here, they're not all like Latino encompassing, if you will. So I think that was really exciting to see, like, oh, well, there's a club that, invites a lot of Latino students. And, like, even in my own, like, the few members that I have, like, some don't even identify as Latino. They don't even speak Spanish. So that was also really neat to see that the focus and mission is for Latino students, but, anyone at the end of the day is welcomed.
That's interesting. That's very good. Are there other organizations on campus that focus on the Hispanic population without this kind of spiritual component?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, LHA, the Latin Hispanic Alliance, is one of them. I know the Multicultural Center does a lot of activities. And there are two Latin Greek organizations, a Latin sorority and a Latin fraternity.
Okay.
That also.
You plug in with those groups at all?
Not necessarily. Not with the sororities. With LHA, not as much. No.
Okay. Well, let's take a little commercial break here, and I want to come back and talk a little more about the cultural connection and then the leadership component and then whatever else you want to say about this and some of the special programs. So we'll be right back after this commercial break.
I'm Noah Cornelius at the Wildwood Community Market and Cafe, where there's a lot of feline friends around. Come with me, we're going to take a look at some of them, and they're all up for adoption from the Watauga Humane Society. So what are these cats' names? Kevin. Named Kevin, all right. Sprinkles. Are they siblings? They all look alike. Oh, they're my friends. Oh, they're best friends. Oh, this might be the cutest package in App TV history. So in order to get behind all of this kitty action, I had to speak with Rachel Crowell, who is the volunteer coordinator at the Watauga Humane Society. I had to look at the name tag. Thank you for giving it.
Hi, it's nice to see you.
So how did this event all come to be? Like, how long have you been planning this for?
Oh yeah, so I do the outreach events at Watauga Humane Society. So I just wanted to work with local businesses, and I thought this space was just really conducive. So I planned this for about a month. Got all my volunteers, spoke with Joe, the owner, and he was just like, let's do it. So yeah, it's not super crazy. We don't get to take cats out that much, but this is a nice enclosed space for them.
How many cats are here today? 4 cats are here today. 4 cats, and they're all up for adoption. Honestly, so much going on here. Now, Rachel, how can people adopt these cats?
They can take an application home today, or they can just come back to the shelter when we're open Tuesday through Saturday, 12:30 to 5, and meet with the cat again at the shelter and just kind of start that process and take them home same day.
Now, and I've said this multiple times on the broadcast, I would take home all these cats if my place was pet-friendly. So people with pet-friendly apartments, get these cats. They're adorable, they're soft, they're cute. You got anything else to say, Rachel?
No, we also have dogs.
And they also have dogs. Noah Cornelius, App TV.
Bryce in the shotgun takes a snap. Troy sends 4. Bryce rolls left, gonna heave it deep, and it's not gonna get there. It's caught by Christian Horn. He's around the outside, and it scores! He scores! FC wins! Holy mother meatballs! It's a touchdown for App State on a Hail Mary! Christian Horn! Touchdown!
Welcome to Boone, North Carolina. Located along the Blue Ridge Parkway, nestled in the Appalachian Mountains, there is no place like it. Take a stroll down charming King Street, where you are sure to see a familiar face welcoming you. In the summer, go tubing down the New River, where the water runs almost as deep as our Mountaineer pride. When the leaves change in the fall, pack a picnic and head to Thunder Hill Overlook, where the skyline is so vibrant you can't help but send a picture to all of your family and friends. In the winter, check out one of our nearby ski resorts, where Yosef might just challenge you to a race down the slopes. And year-round, you can take in some of the most breathtaking views wherever you turn. As soon as you arrive in Boone, you'll realize there is something special in these mountains. Welcome home, and welcome to the Valley.
Welcome back. We're here with Mia Lopez-Calvo, the president of Destino. I've got another picture up here that maybe we can take a look at here. It's just a group of kids, right? Young adults having fun. And you mentioned earlier that fellowship's a big component of this, and that and we've talked a lot about the religious aspect of Destino. Can you tell me a little bit about the cultural connection here? You know, how does this provide? And I know you said you do a lot of things that are sometimes just fun things, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the importance in your life to have a kind of connection with other students of Hispanic background, and ways that you all try to maintain this connection to your culture.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to really connect with the Hispanic community, because you just relate a lot to people of the Hispanic background, Hispanic community, whether, for example, my mom is from Mexico, my dad's from Guatemala, and I meet with students who are from El Salvador, who are from different their parents are from different other countries, and we can still share the language, just talking in Spanish, being comfortable and speaking that, and knowing the slang, or even learning the different slang, and I don't know, it's just, we have a fun time really sharing music, favorite media that we grew up in, or just sharing stories of our childhood. and they get to experience like visiting their home countries of their parents and things like that. So it's just a really fun time, just really being in that community. And I try to implement that as much as I can. I think one time we had a movie night and we watched the movie called Bajo la Misma Luna by Eugenio Derbez, and it's like, you know, has those sad moments, those really happy moments that we can kind of relate to, or, you know, learn about others.
That I might not relate to, right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, so you have that type of connection, you know, and it doesn't matter, like, if you are Mexican or not. As you know, you're Hispanic, you speak the language. And then another thing, like when I try to do like outreach for like the Winter Club Expo or like the tables, I try to put like Mexican candy that people, you know, like recognize. Like, well, I haven't had one of these in a while. Like, I haven't been to the store, or things like that.
So I know that one of the values or the emphases of Crew, and I think Destino as well, is this evangelical focus. And you mentioned outreach, sharing your faith with others. Do you have any, there's a growing Hispanic community in Boone. Do you have any kind of formal outreach to the Hispanic community beyond the university?
Personally, I have been going to Hope Church, and they are starting a Hispanic ministry. And I mentioned, you know, talk with the pastor. I was like, well, I'm, you know, a Destino leader. Like, I would love to, you know, translate and put, you know, whatever I can that can help. And so I've been working with that a little bit. It's in the works, but essentially I could translate the sermon live, and translate flyers and worship songs and things like that. So
I think it's always important for faculty and staff and for students at the university to make those connections in the community. And it sounds like that you've started that. There might be some future possibilities there. Yeah, that's great. So another value that is mentioned on the website, the overall website, is has to do with Latino leadership. So is there a focus in your group about developing leaders? And how does that work, and how do you work that into your religious perspective?
So right now I'm like the only one, you know, on leadership, but essentially I would like for, you know, some of the members to like do the social media aspect of things. But, you know, I do understand that, you know, they're starting off with their busy schedules and things like that, and maybe they don't feel as courageous to take on with that. But I have put it in a little interest. I do have a little interest here and there, but I just feel like, I don't know, some of the members are really shy, so I don't really push it.
Provide opportunities for them to put themselves out there. One of the programs that Destino sponsors is a summer mission trip, and I have a flyer here. I think Spain summer mission. I don't know if this was last year or not, but I know you haven't had a chance to go on one of these trips. But can you tell us a little bit about what Destino does when they go on a mission trip like this?
So I do know, like with Crew, if I'm correct, and they're the same. With Crew, they would go to Spain, and they would also go to Cuba. I was gonna go to the Cuba one. And I can talk a little bit about that one. They were essentially like going to have these filters for, you know, filtering water, since it's really hard to have that type of, you know, for those means to come really easily to the community. And so they were going to have these filters provide for families, you know, knocking on doors and things like that. And essentially that was how they were going to share the gospel. Like, okay, this filters water. This is how the Lord can, like, you know, change your life. Essentially, like, filter you, if you will. You know, that type of
good
analogy.
Object lesson,
And they were gonna have people who were like didn't speak Spanish, and they were gonna have interpreters, and they were just gonna do that for like a week or two, I think, for spring break. And for Spain, like, a lot of people, you know, speak or do not speak Spanish, and they want people to speak Spanish to go on these trips. Essentially, is like the same. You go to a city, you preach the gospel. Maybe on the last day you are a tour. You're on a tour. You're like a little tourist But for the most part of the week and the days, you're preaching the gospel and just sharing that as much as you can.
So now, did you say you are going to Cuba?
No.
Or you were going to and it didn't work out? That's
yeah.
a shame. That would have been a remarkable trip.
It would have been really cool.
Yeah. So another big sponsored program is Legacia.
Yes.
So again, I'm going to take a big step here and suggest that's legacy, right?
Yes, correct.
So tell me what
Yes.
The focus of this is and how that
So
works.
Legacia essentially this all the clubs from all over the country to one place, to one convention. I think this past in January was in California, if I'm not wrong. Another year was in Washington. And essentially all the clubs join, all the leaders, all the group members, and it's a weekend from Friday to this time. It was Martin Luther King weekend, so all the way to Monday. And they have workshops that you can go, and they have a worship team, so you have service at night. And yeah, it's just a place to meet the other Destino members.
Did you get to go this
I
past
did
time?
not this past.
Okay. Have you been on one before, or no, not at all? This is a nationwide gathering.
Yes, I gather.
So in the little bit of time we have left, tell me what you would like for students to know about Destino. What's you think the most important thing to communicate is?
Yeah. Well, essentially, like, don't feel intimidated. That's a Bible study. I feel like a lot of people hear the word Bible study and just, go out the door. I would like for students to see this as like a place to find fellowship, a place to either begin their faith journey or continue their faith journey wherever they're at, no matter the denomination. I feel like that's also like a big cultural thing sometimes. And that, we meet on Wednesday evenings. This semester I'm trying to, I don't know if you heard of The Chosen. So essentially, we can give feedback while watching The Chosen, and we have that project kind of going on. So that's what I'm trying it to look like this semester, and never missing out on like fellowship opportunities.
Right. So you're a senior, so we're going to be losing you after this semester, I guess. Do you think you'll continue this kind of work? It may not be with Destino, or maybe it is. I'm taking a stab here too. I don't know what you're doing or where you're headed after graduation, but do you see your experience in Destino feeding over into your destiny as you go forward?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a healthcare management major, and one of the things that I talked to in like a meeting for my major was they asked me like, what are you gonna do with this? And I'm like, working in hospitals. And they were like, but what do you really want to do? And I was like, help the Hispanic community. And they were all like, you could start a foundation. You could do a lot of things in the public health sector that doesn't necessarily point to working at a hospital. So that could be in the works for me. That could be my destiny.
It sounds wonderful. Sounds like you have a good vision for where you're headed, and this organization has helped you move in that direction.
100%.
I always love having students on the program, and to be able to hear about the other aspects of student life beyond academics. And I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I appreciate the work you're doing here at Appalachian, and wish you well after you graduate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Well, that's Religion and Life for this week. I hope you'll join us again next week when we talk to someone from the Appalachian pagan community, another student organization on campus. Until then, this is Religion and Life, and I hope to see you next week on App TV.